as Americans confront rising costs over the war in Iran, Donald Trump is concocting a convenient but inaccurate narrative about life before the war, defending what he's called his excursion into Iran. He's claiming a pre-war reality that did not exist.
We actually had, just before the war, before the energy forced other things up, but up or down, we had the best numbers. We had inflation was at 1.6% for the last 3 months just prior to the war. And now you're going to see numbers like that again. As soon as this war is over, gas is going to, I had gasoline down to $1.85 in Iowa. I was down to, in many cases, less than $2 a barrel, a gallon. We inherited high prices, and we got the prices down, and we got them down to numbers that in some cases people have not seen before.
The fact is this: at under no point since the president took office this term has inflation ever fallen below the 2% watermark. Meantime, gas prices were $2.98 nation the day before the war started, with the nation's cheapest prices in Oklahoma, not Iowa, that day at $2.47 a gallon. And that claim that prices were down across the board, not true either, given that through February, prices were up 2.9% compared to when Trump took office. Sochi, those are just the hard and fast numbers of what we know from the data, but there's also what Americans are seeing every single day for themselves.
There's what Americans are seeing, and a year ago, I was probably sitting at this table talking about Donald Trump's trade war. And I remember at the time really thinking about, listen, he promised to lower costs, and that is not happening. He caused uncertainty in the economy, which meant that costs went up. And he thought, and this message was the same as the war, is just we need to feel a little bit of pain for a little bit of time, and at the end of the day, it'll be better for all of us. And that didn't sell well with Americans then. It's not selling well with Americans now. And he is trying to rewrite history because he understands, and I'm sure there are aides in his ear talking about how lowering prices is the key to the midterm elections, and he wants to paint a picture that he was responsible for lowering prices. But in his presidency, that is not the case.
And I just want to add to that, we have new Fox News polling his job performance on inflation among registered voters, 76% disapproval rating, 24% approval rating.
Yeah, that's atrocious. He's telling you he's terrified of consumer prices, and he should be. That's voters' primary concern. It was their primary concern under Biden. It's their primary concern now. It's why they voted for Donald Trump, to deliver that sort of thing. He's not going to give up on his tariffs. He really should. He's not going to give up on this war, and he shouldn't. The way out of this price problem with gasoline is to complete the project that he began in Tehran, open up the strait militarily, and watch gasoline prices follow Brent prices. Brent prices collapse on speculation. He says something in the morning, go down $10, $12. It takes a while to get down to refined products, but you get some relief there by November. And you also have a condition in which Americans see this regime, which is universally loathed in this country. It's backbroken, militarily, isolated, unable to draw revenues, and retreating into itself in a way that looks a lot to the average viewer like victory. That's the sort of thing that could mitigate the conditions that currently prevail.
Somehow or another, the stock market, even though everything you just listed over there may be accurate, somehow the stock market doesn't, I don't know, they don't care. They're not going with it because the stock is doing okay. But I would like to ask you a question. Don't mind me being the host for a second. How does a president get prices lowered of milk and eggs and carpeting for your house and lumber? I don't know how a president does that.
You know what's so striking about that chart you showed is that inflation was at its lowest point when President Trump took office. And the reason for that is because you are in a situation where we've done a lot of unforced policy errors, right? We've ignited trade wars that cost the average American family something like $1,000 per household. These gas price increases are going to cost the average American family something like $850 over the course of this year. And prices don't just come back down, even as crude prices come down, because of this phenomenon called rockets and feathers. Prices go way up as crude goes up, but it takes a long time for those price decreases to filter through to consumers. And so the answer to your kind of difficult question is there actually aren't magical policies that you can point at that will bring down prices tomorrow. But one thing that would is if we rolled back this trade war. That is something concretely that could be done that the average
But it's
American
not going to
can
happen
feel.
if Donald Trump is
we gotta
calling
go.
it peanuts.
I
It's
know.
not going to happen.
Gas prices now at a 4-year high at $4.56 a gallon on average. That's up 54 cents just since last month. The pain at the pump comes as oil inventories in the United States are plunging as the global disruption to the energy market drags on because of the war in Iran. CNN's Matt Egan joining me now. You look at these prices, and that is a stunning jump over a month, 54 cents a gallon more.
Yeah, it is, Sarah. And now we've got new wartime highs just in time for Memorial Day weekend. So the national average for regular gas only up by about a penny today, but that is enough to be the highest level, not just since the war started, but since July of 2022. And remember, before this conflict, gas was cheap, right? Below $3 a gallon. Now, you basically can't escape $4 a gallon, not even in those historically low-priced gas states, right? Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, Indiana, and Texas, all of them are now above $4 a gallon. AAA says this month marks the first time where all 50 states and Washington, D.C. are above $4 a gallon in 4 years. So it's just stunning to see this, and it's obviously happening because the war, because the Strait of Hormuz being closed. It's completely destabilized the global energy system. This is the biggest shock in terms of energy supplies in world history. Now, some people have wondered, why haven't prices gone even higher? And that's because, in part, the world entered this crisis with a pretty sizable rainy day fund, right? Oil inventories, which act like shock absorbers, they were really high. However, now they're shrinking rapidly. Total U.S. oil inventories last week alone plunging by 18 million barrels. That's the most on federal data that goes back to the early 1980s. And emergency reserves, they're also shrinking. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve is down by 10% since the war started, falling to the lowest level in almost 2 years. Now, this is what those reserves are there for, right? They're designed to try to absorb a shock. It's kind of like savings in a bank account, right? It can help you ride out a storm, get through a financial emergency. Of course, it's not going to last forever, right? Eventually, you're going to run out. And so that's where the concern comes as far as the supply shock. And look, I know the president this week, he dismissed high gas prices as peanuts. But I've been talking to people who've been telling me that it's really, really painful. I talked to a computer technician in Pittsburgh, and he said he drives by the gas station every day. And he says the prices are just insane. But it's not just energy, right? It's also the cost of groceries, the cost of everything. He said everything is going up right now except your paycheck. And Sarah, I do think that this is just another reminder of how painful high gas prices are, especially for people who are living paycheck to paycheck, right? This is just something that they can't avoid right now.
It has a big impact. You got to get to work. You got to get in a car to do that. And so you're paying more just to go to work, and you can't pay for the other extra things, especially, as you said, this is travel season. This is summertime. A lot of people are going to be upset with this. Matt Egan, thank you so much for breaking that down for us. Frederica?